Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Jaya Brinde Jaya Brinde Jaya Brinde Jaya Shri Brinde Jaya Brinde Jaya Brinde Jaya Shri Brinde
You're going to cover them up with bags? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, these are those quints. They're still fine, yeah. 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 If only they were scented. Can't have it all. Yeah. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamunatiravanachari. Yamunatiravanachari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Stutara. His Divine Grace Abhay Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nantakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Shri Gangamaya Ki Jai, Shri Jamunamaya Ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories from the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories. Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath. Radha Krishna Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're starting chapter 72 in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Slaying of the Demon Jarasandha. And I'm going to read the summary and also verses 1 and 2. So this is the chapter summary. This chapter describes how Lord Krishna heard King Yudhishthira's request and then arranged for Bhishmasena to defeat Jarasandha. One day, King Yudhishthira addressed Lord Krishna as he sat in the royal assembly. "My lord, I wish to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice. In this sacrifice, people uninterested in your devotional service will be able to see firsthand the superiority of your devotees and the inferiority of non-devotees. They will also be able to see your lotus feet." Lord Krishna extolled Yudhishthira's proposition. "Your scheme is so excellent that it will spread your fame throughout the universe. Indeed, all living beings should desire that this sacrifice be performed. To make this sacrifice possible, however, you must first defeat all the kings of the earth and collect all the necessary paraphernalia." Satisfied with Lord Krishna's words, King Yudhishthira sent his brothers to conquer the various directions. After they had conquered or won the fealty of the kings in their assigned directions, they brought back abundant wealth to Yudhishthira. One fealty of means to gain their allegiance or alliance. They informed him, however, that Jarasandha could not be defeated. As King Yudhishthira pondered how he could subdue Jarasandha, Sri Krishna revealed to him the means for doing so, following the previous advice of Uddhava. Bhima, Arjuna, and Sri Krishna then disguised themselves as brahmanas and went to the palace of Jarasandha, who was very devoted to the Brahminical class. They introduced themselves as brahmanas to King Jarasandha, flattering him by praising his reputation for hospitality, and requested him to grant their desire. Seeing the marks of bowstrings on their limbs, Jarasandha concluded that they were warriors and not brahmanas. But still, even though fearful, he promised to fulfill whatever desire they may have. At that point, Lord Krishna discarded his disguise and asked Jarasandha to fight him in one-to-one combat. But Jarasandha refused, claiming that Krishna was a coward because he had once fled the battlefield. Jarasandha also declined to fight Arjuna on the plea that he was inferior in age and size. But Bhima he considered a worthy opponent. Thus Jarasandha handed Bhima a club and took up another himself, and they all went outside the city to begin the fight. After the fight had gone on for some time, it became clear that the two opponents were too equally matched for either to gain victory. Lord Krishna then split a small tree branch in half, thus showing Bhima how to kill Jarasandha. Bhima threw Jarasandha to the ground, stepped on one of his legs, seized the other with his arms, and proceeded to tear him apart from his genitals to his head. Seeing Jarasandha dead, his relatives and subjects cried out in lamentation. Lord Krishna then appointed Jarasandha's son, ruler of Magadha, and released the kings Jarasandha had imprisoned. That's the introduction. It gives a little summation of this chapter. Sounds like it's going to be very exciting. And finally, after so much time, Jarasandha will get his comeuppance. So this is texts 1 and 2. Sri Sukha Uvacha Ekadatu Sabhamadhya Ashtito Munibirvrita Brahmanai Kshatriyar Vaishyar Bhratribhischa Yudhishthira Sri Sukuvacha Ekadatu Sabhamadhya Astito Munibirita Brahmanai Kshatriyar Vaishyar Bhratribhischa Yudhishthira Sri Sukuvacha Ekadatu Sabhamadhya Astito Munibirita Brahmanai Kshatriyar Vaishyar Bhratribhischa Yudhishthira Sri Sukuvacha Ekadatu Sabhamadhya Astito Munibirita Brahmana Kshatriyar Vaishyar Pratibhischa Yudhishthira Sri Sukuvacha Ekadatu Sabhamadhya Asito Munibirita Brahmana Kshatriyar Vaishyar Pratibhischa Yudhishthira. Maybe we can read together the second verse. That's the second half of this part. Acharyai kula vridaischa yati sambandhi bandhavai shrinvatam eva chaitesham abhashyeda uvachaha. Word for word. Sri Sukuvacha. Sukadev Goswami said, Ekada, once, two, and Sabha, of the royal assembly. Madhye, in the midst. Ashtita, seated. Munibi, by sages. Vrita, surrounded. Brahmanai, Kshatriyai, Vaishyai, by Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. Bhratribihi, by his brothers. Cha, and Yudhishthira, King Yudhishthira. Acharyai, by his spiritual masters. Kula, of the family. Vridai, by the elders. Cha, also. Gyati, by blood relatives. Sambandhi, in-laws. Bandhavai, and friends. Shrinvatam, as they listened. Eva, indeed. Cha, and. Etasham, all of them. Hapashya, addressing Lord Krishna. Idam, this. Uvachaha, he said. Translation, Sukadeva Goswami said, one day as King Yudhishthira sat in the royal assembly, surrounded by eminent sages, brahmanas, kshatriyas, and vaishyas, and also by his brothers, spiritual masters, family elders, blood relations, in-laws, and friends, he addressed Lord Krishna as everyone listened. Please repeat. Sukadeva Goswami said, one day, as King Yudhishthira sat in the royal assembly, surrounded by eminent sages, brahmanas, kshatriyas, and vaishyas, and also by his brothers, spiritual masters, family elders, blood relations, in-laws, and friends, he addressed Lord Krishna as everyone listened. Om Jnana Tinamanda Shagananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unminitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Vishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Shatanine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhir Krishna Das Goswami Niti Namine Namo Hamsane Kalshaya Prabhupada Priyayate Sudrida Sudi Nisyambyam Tashavaki Nuvadine. So there's no purport from the servants of Srila Prabhupada, but there are a few commentaries, tikas by the acharyas I want to read, and then we'll discuss this whole scene. In the 72nd chapter, Krishna approves of Yudhishthira's plans and deliberately, taking his permission, has Bhima kill Jarasandha. Yudhishthira, seated properly, astitaha, asked Krishna while the others were listening. The locative case is used for the listeners to emphasize that Yudhishthira was absorbed in speaking to Krishna. That's from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Jiva Goswami writes, after several days relaxing at an appropriate time, Yudhishthira spoke. The word tu indicates another time. It is understood that the Lord had not come to the assembly previously. The word cha indicates that the sons of Yudhishthira's brothers were also present. The second cha indicates other elders. He was surrounded by friends also, bandhavai. They all gathered at once because of the nature of the king, because they were constantly attracted to see the Lord, who had come with his followers, and because some had been called by the king for advice. He spoke while everyone listened. Or he came down from his throne in order to make an announcement, since it was suitable for his intended praise, and he remained standing there with folded hands. Ah, Shtita. He spoke so that others would listen, giving them permission, and to get their assent to his proposal. He spoke with joy. Ha. And Sanatana Goswami states, not finding the opportunity to inform Krishna because of great respect for him, at some moment which was proper, he spoke in the assembly. He was surrounded by sages like Vyasa, brahmanas like Daumya, other kings like Drupada, Vaishyas who were maternal uncles who desired to fight, brothers like Bhima and sons and others, teachers like Drona, and elders like Bhishma, and relatives on the men's side, those related by marriage. All of these people had gathered. They had been called by Yudhishthira to invite them to the sacrifice, or they came because they wanted to see Krishna with his entourage. Even servants heard Cha. Or in order to make the announcement, he descended from his throne and was situated on the ground, astitataha, with folded hands. He spoke while others listened to approve. Or while others listened, he wanted the Lord to approve of the sacrifice which was necessary to establish Yudhishthira. Ha indicates joy. So this is a long lead-in from that time when Krishna and Balaram fought Jarasandha. Jarasandha, is a demon, and he was at that point very upset that Krishna had killed Kansa. I just wanted to do a little bit of a rewind to talk a little bit about Jarasandha, because this long lead-in must indicate that Jarasandha, he actually, being a demon, nonetheless, he's a very powerful personality. You know, at this point in time, he had already kidnapped something like 85 or 86 of the kings that he intended to kidnap to sacrifice to Lord Shiva to get more power. He was already quite powerful. He was attempting to kidnap 100 kings for the sacrifice, kind of like in other sacrifices, maybe there's 100 horses, you know, the Ashwamedha sacrifices, etc. But he was leading up to expanding his power. He had become very emboldened after Lord Krishna and Balaram had sort of let him off the hook and ran away. They ran away that time when he just kept sending his Akshahini forces in. He was trying to he was trying to kill Krishna, take over the kingdom. He just kept trying 17 or 18 times. And, you know, Krishna and Balaram, they were very kind. They let that go on again and again and again and again, 18 times. And Jarasandha, his coming about is an interesting story. Once upon a time, his father, I think his name was Brihadrath, had married twin ladies. They were twins. And he wanted a son, obviously, to be the heir to the throne. So a sage came by one day because he was lamenting, he was in grief that he didn't have a son as an heir. And the sage Chanda Kaushika was walking by their area at some point and saw the king and wanted to help. And he gave the king a magical mango and told him to give that to his wife, and then they would, have a son. Well, the king couldn't make a decision on who to give the mango to. He had these were twins, they were wives, they were equal in all respects. So he split the mango perfectly in half, and he gave one half of each mango to each of his queens. And in due course of time, they both became pregnant. But when they gave birth, they actually only birthed half of a human. So, of course, that was considered an abomination. It was, not right. So the king ordered both halves to be thrown into the forest. And then there's two halves of one baby lying about in the forest, and a demon Rakshasi, Jara, her name was Jara, came and took both halves and cupped them in her hands and put the two halves together, and then the two halves were actually fused and created one whole human. And then all of a sudden, the baby started screaming and crying, and usually demon ladies eat babies, but since the baby, kind of came alive in her hands and, was crying out, and, so, a motherly sort of tendency took over. And so she did not eat the baby, she saved the baby. And then she took the baby back to the kingdom, which was the closest kingdom, and presented the baby to the king because, everybody in the kingdom were subjects of the king and did those things to, give tribute or whatever. And then the king took him in, and that was his son, named the son Jarasandha. And he grew up learning all of those things, all of the arts, fighting, and all those things that are befitting the son of a king. However, he was a demon. So then that was that part. So fast forward to now, as we read, and I don't want to be a spoiler, but there was already a spoiler in the the write-up, the summation, that there was that was going to be the future key on how to dispatch Jarasandha, because he seemed to have 9 or 18 or 25 lives. He could not be defeated, killed like that. So Krishna just sort of let him be for a long time. This was many, some years later. And now finally, Jarasandha, as we know in subsequent chapters, he will be dispatched, and we'll hear about how. So some of the points that came up, the biggest point actually, and I was speaking to someone about this yesterday, is the fact that, Krishna isn't time-bound. Krishna is kala, time. So he does everything on his own time, not the time that we would hope, or not the time that we think is right, or not the time, here. I mean, he very well could have dispatched Jarasandha back then. I mean, it would have been no problem. But, it's kind of like when a cat plays with a mouse. He keeps batting at him, and then the mouse plays dead for a little bit, or maybe he's down for a little bit, but then he sees a chance to escape, and then he tries, and the cat just bats at it until it's dead. So Krishna's expert, obviously, at time, place, and circumstance, and a lot of things had to play out with Jarasandha kind of off into the background, and now he's coming back to the foreground. And the beauty of this is he doesn't have to do that thing. He doesn't have to himself, even though he offered to fight with Jarasandha, right? He's going to offer to fight with Jarasandha, and Jarasandha, doesn't want to have anything to do because he's a coward. Jarasandha was quite large. He was a hulking type of person. He was very expert in a lot of different methods of fighting, hand-to-hand combat and weaponry. And, probably on the level of Mushtika and Chanura, he was a big rude dude. And finally, you know, Bhima will be the one to dispatch Jarasandha. But this, you know, the time, place, and circumstance. There's always some. Krishna always provides suspense and strategy. You know, there's the Rajasuja sacrifice, which is about to go on, and Krishna is going to be honored as the most elevated person. That's what this Rajasuja sacrifice is supposed to do. It honors someone as the highest, you know, the highest in the assembly, the best of the best, like that. And among other things, there's many things that these sacrifices are meant for. But in that, you know, Lord Krishna, he's choosing to allow things to kind of play out, but he's also allowing his minister, Uddhava, you know, he was actually the one that suggested. Krishna was just letting Jarasandha live and let live, you know, at the time. But he's taking all this advice from these advisors, and so is King Yudhishthira. He's taking all this advice. It's like the whole city, you know, the whole assembly, even servants, all classes, even the Vaishya uncles who just wanted to fight, you know, they weren't thinking of strategy, and they were just simply trying to support their beloved King Yudhishthira. And as was Uddhava and King Yudhishthira trying to support Krishna. So that underscores another important point. So we have time, place, and circumstance, which we are all bound to, although sometimes it's difficult to be bound to that because, you know, you want to do something now, or you have your agenda that you want to see through. And so waiting for Krishna sometimes to reveal himself or to make those moves necessary can be a little excruciating. It's an excruciatingly slow wait, right? But that's a lesson that those of us who, you know, I'm going to say in the mode of passion, I mean, that's probably, I mean, it's definitely me. It's hard to do. It's hard to actually hurry up and wait. You know, you see Krishna doing these things, and it's difficult to actually just sit tight, hold the line, and wait. And, you know, there's many things going on right now in that genre. You know, that's how things are day to day. Day to day, it's incremental. But there's always some little bit of strategy that Krishna employs to get to the end result. And that's why patience is a virtue, because we must be patient or we'll spoil the whole result. We'll spoil the plan. You know, we've seen that practically, right? And then the other part of that is when you are supported or surrounded by persons who are aligned with the same vision and have the same intention. It's really important to actually to build that alignment. You know, when things are done deliberately or strategically, aka very slowly and carefully and pragmatically, it allows everybody to see what they need to see to help make those moves when Krishna instructs, right? Because sometimes if you make a unilateral move, someone makes a unilateral move, or they make a move that is maybe not popular at first, but over time, drops wear away at the stone. It actually starts to become more evident. It becomes, the whole operation can become clearer. It becomes more palatable, especially if the operation is not something that everybody is on board with or even thinks is right or maybe doesn't want to do. I mean, we know Bhima and Arjuna. I like the emissaries of Bhima, Arjuna, and Sri Krishna, because, Bhima and Arjuna, they'll certainly go to battle at the drop of a hat. There's no problem. Well, Arjuna will now, after Krishna, kind of assuaged his fears that he's doing something wrong way back. So those points are very cogent for anyone who has a service or in their lives, to be very patient and tolerant and strategic about how they go about getting things done. And some would say that it's manipulative. King Yudhishthira has all of his persons surrounding him, and they're building up, But in this case, obviously, it's because the Rajasuja sacrifice should be going on. They want to do that. King Yudhishthira, that's his burning. His burning desire is not to kill Jarasandha. Yudhishthira's burning desire is to honor Lord Krishna, and thereby the intention is pure. So anything that we do with the pure intention to please Krishna, I'm not going to say anything. I mean, obviously there's Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra to as a backstop or as a counsel. Of course, we have to take good advice, take correction like that. But anything that we're doing, pretty much, to please the Lord, with that, if the intention is pure, and we're simply trying to, say, for instance, make a case for the best way to spread Lord Chaitanya's movement in North America is to have many, many persons willing to take up the service to cultivate those who know nothing about Krishna, and maybe certain persons don't think that that's really wise, because those persons meant to cultivate others may not be perfect in some respect, or they may not be following a very rigid protocol. But, Srila Prabhupada never followed a very rigid protocol. Srila Prabhupada diverted in so many ways to bring his mission here to the West, to spread the mission of Lord Chaitanya. So having others aligned with that vision, one, and knowing time, place, and circumstance to push forward little bits and parts of a operation or a movement or a vision, it's very, very important. It's actually very important, and that's what we can learn from this whole long, protracted life of Jarasandha. Jarasandha throughout has been, planning and scheming. He's always planning and scheming how to get more power. This is the demon way. More power shall I have tomorrow. I will kill my enemies, and then I'll be more powerful, and I will rejoice. So we're reading about this, but it's not really that far off from everyday life. We all want to have our way. We all want to do what we want to do. We all want what we want, and we want it now. We want it all, and we want it now. But that's not really, in Krishna consciousness particularly, we know better. We know that that's not going to happen, plainly speaking. And, just to be a little more pragmatic about our thoughts, words, deeds, like that in Krishna consciousness, so as to take everyone's interests in consideration. Lord Krishna's going to tell, or is telling Yudhishthira, the way you can honor me is to kill Jarasandha. And then there's a rally for that. And, that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do, Then, even though it seems like a heinous act, or it seems like it's, it's a little bit uncomfortable, then it's okay, because Krishna is giving us the empowerment to do all of these things. whatever his bidding. So we just have to keep our mind and our intentions on pleasing the Lord, no matter what. All glories to the Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Sri Radha Golokananda.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Enam Kanvandam Maravindanalayatacham Varhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Angani Yasa Sakalem Priya Priti Manti Vasyan Dipan Dikayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. 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 Govindam.
Nanda Kishore Manasa Deha Geha Yogi Chumora Pilo Tuabare Nanda Kishore Sampade Vipade Jivane Marane Sampade Vipade Jivane Marane Pati Tuarikara Nitya Dasa Pati Tuarikara Janma Bhima Icha Jarito Janma Bhima Icha Bhaktagriye Jani Janma Mo Nakagriye Jani Janma Kita Janma Jata Tuadas Kita Janma Jata Tuadas Bahir Mukha Jame Nahi Ash Bahir Mukha Bhakti Mukti Spriya Vihani Bhakta Bhakti Mukti Spriya Vihinaya Bhakta Bhakti Mukti Spriya Vihinaya Bhakta Bhakti Mukti Spriya Vihinaya Bhakta Lai Bhaite Tako Sangha Nurakta Janaka Janaka Janani Daita Tanaya Daita Tanaya Prabhu Guru Pati Tuhu Sarva Moya Prabhu Guru Pati Tuhu Sarva Moya Bhakti Vinod Ko Hai Suno Kana Bhakti Vinod Ko Hai Suno Kana Bhakti Vinod Ko Hai Suno Kana Vinod Ko Hai Suno Kana Radhanata Suhamara Parana Radhanata Suhamara Parana Manasa Deo Geho Yakichu tua pare Nanda Kishore Anasareo Geho Yogi Jumo Apiro Tua Pare Nanda Kishore Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Shri Radhe Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Shri Radhe Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Shri Vrindavan Dham Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Shri Vrindavan Dham Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Mind, body, and family, whatever may be mine, I have surrendered at your lotus feet, O youthful son of Nanda, in good fortune or bad, in life or at death. All my difficulties have disappeared by choosing those feet of yours as my only shelter. Slay me or protect me as you wish, for you are my master, and I am your eternal servant. If it is your will that I may be born again, then may it be in the home of your devotee. May I be born again even as a worm, so long as I remain your devotee. I have no desire to be born even as many-headed Lord Brahma, if averse to you. I yearn for the company of that devotee who is completely devoid of all desire for worldly enjoyment or liberation. Father, mother, lover, son, Lord, preceptor, and husband, you are my everything. Thakur Bhaktivinoda says, hear me, O Kana, Krishna, O Lord of Radha, you are my life. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhavamahadavagni Nirvapanam Sriyakai Ravyacham
Kavitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatmitapanam Paramijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapitani Amita Smarane Nakala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjanina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhakti Rohitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kikaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripayata Vabada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajashim Vachintaya Nayanam Gadarashu Daraya Varanam Gad Gadarudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanamagrahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahena Me Ashlishyava Padamritam Anastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatadava Vidadatu Lampato Mat Prananatastu Sa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. Even the names you've invested all your transcendental energies, there are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready in all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your this devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy... No, oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord. Even if he handles me